Hi, we're here with Eduardo Vελόζα, if I pronounce the name correctly.
Yeah.
He's a member of Semear O Futuro, which is a revolutionary left-wing organization in Portugal. Semear O Futuro, if I get it right, means plant the future or plant seeds for the future.
Yeah,
And
like
hello, Eduardo. We're here today to discuss with Eduardo the government crisis in Portugal. So there was a government since 2015 in Portugal, which was supported by the left parties, the Communist Party and the Błόku de Izquierda, if I pronounce that correctly again, which is the bloc of the left. This government coalition has collapsed now, and there are coming elections on the 13th of January. So, Eduardo, if you can tell us a bit more about what is this political crisis that you're facing in Portugal now about?
Okay, first of all, thanks a lot for having me. It is a great pleasure to be here with you today, talking about this. So it was actually the solution of government that we had since 2015 kind of end up or dissolved in the end of last year. It was a left-wing government as a very particular solution. That was something that never happened here. And even in Europe was not very usual, but it was very special because it was after the right-wing government that applied all the austerity since the debt crisis until 2012, 2013. And then at the end of that period of austerity, in the elections, the right-wing coalition ended up to win the elections. They had more votes, but in the configuration of the parliament that was elected, the left or the Socialist Party with the Communist Party and the left bloc, they had a majority. So they decided to form a government with a big aim to get rid of the right-wing government and to do a government that move on with the austerity and that could cut with the austerity process till then. So it was. They made an agreement especially for 2 years with a bunch of things, with raising salaries, cutting down some of the austerity measures and some of the worst austerity measures that were in place at the time. But it ended up, so we will get there more, I think. But it ended up to take 6 years, that solution. And now the situation is really different since 2015. So actually with the crisis, with the pandemic, we could develop a bit more, but with the crisis and the pandemic and everything, the Socialist Party, and especially the bourgeoisie and the economic and political elite of the country kind of stopped wanting more, a solution that needed to give things to the left. So they kind of end up the negotiations and the giveaways that they were giving to the left. It were not a lot of things, but there were some. So the left, the Communist Party and the left bloc kind of end up in a situation that they couldn't more approve the budgets of the Socialist Party government, because the Socialist Party government didn't want more to give anything to the left, so the solution ended up.
So the crisis was provoked because of the left parties, the bloc of the left and the Communist Party didn't want to vote for the budget, right?
Yeah, actually the Socialist Party and the media, they kind of get to give the impression, and they give the idea that the budget didn't pass because left bloc and the Communist Party are too radical, and they wanted everything, which is not true. Actually, what had happened, for example, the left bloc had 9 measures, for the whole budget, and the Socialist Party didn't accept even one. So they were approving, for good or bad, but they were approving for some years budgets with all the payments of the debt, with all the private the privatizations that happened in the last years, with a bunch of, with the NATO military budget, all of that. And the Socialist Party, through the years, always progressively shift to the right, or at least give much less than it gave in the beginning. And actually, in the 2 last years, the Socialist Party voted the majority of the things with the right-wing's party, with the essential things like the labor laws, all of those things. The most structural things, they voted with the right, but the budgets, they voted with the left. So it reached a situation where the left was like a hostage, like you have to vote for the budget of the government, or you will be responsible for a political crisis, for the coming back of the right, and so on. And actually, that's a possibility now, a new government of a right-wing government. It's not what the polls suggested more, but it's a possibility. But especially the socialist government today talks more about a coalition or a new government supported by some other party, including the right-wing party, the Social Democratic Party, but it's the traditional right-wing party here. They talk more about a government supported by that right party, the right-wing party, than with the ones with the left. So they kind of rejected now that solution.
So can you tell us a bit more about the record of the government? So a government was formed like a left with a left agenda or outlook. What actual policies did they implement on the field of the economy in general, on workers' rights, but also on fighting the pandemic?
So that was well, until today, it's still seen in Portugal as the most left government, or the government more to the left since ever here. So it's with a government until today with lots of crises, with a lot of support, especially from the left, the broader left part of the population and the working class and so on. But and it was comparing, it was a great government, because the government before was terrible with all the austerity, and it was in a period, internationally speaking, where Trump was elected, with Brexit, with Bolsonaro, and so on. So the Portuguese government at the time appeared to be, for the masses, appears to be an almost radical left government. And actually, in the beginning, they give important stuff, like they raised the minimum wage almost 30% in these 6 years, which is well, it is significantly. It's still a low salary, but it was significantly. They cut some of the privatizations that were preview to do, like in transports, the subway here in Lisbon, some of the transport companies that was going to be privatized, that they didn't let them privatize. They reversed like some of the return some of the holidays that they were cut, some of the payments that were cut, but they didn't touch in anything that was structural, like the main laws of the austerity. They were maintained, especially the broader workers' law and labor laws that are really bad for workers. They were mainly maintained. All the majority, and especially the biggest ones of the national companies that were put in private, they stayed private. The debt was continued to be paid. Well, those structural things continue, and especially with the housing problems that rose a lot in the last years. But they enjoy it a period of more economic stability for the capitalistic economic. Like the debt crisis was a bit attenuated with the central bank policy to the debt crisis, and with the tourism, call centers, and some areas that have developed here, especially with some of the austerity, was able to raise a bit the profits again. So it was a period of more jobs, of more stability, but that kind of end. So with the pandemic.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so now the bourgeoisie wants to advance with some plans, with mining plans and some things that they want a more stable government, a government that don't need to conciliate with the left. So I think that's why it ended that solution. About the pandemic, well, it was, again, comparing, it was not bad, but there was still some problems, like very unstable, like some days closed, some days, well, the government was, as all the other ones, was in the middle of the thing that's pressure to preserve lives and so on, but keeping the business opening and functioning. And especially the healthcare system is collapsing. So that's a big problem. It's still like afloat, but it's starting to collapse, and the government it's not able to change that. Yeah.
Okay, so another piece of news that struck a chord also in other countries is the rise of the far-right Czéga, if I pronounce correctly, party. Can you tell us why do you think this happened, and what is the situation with this far-right grouping?
Yeah, so I think it's the biggest problem that the left has to face today internationally, because it's a strategic or life or death problem. So it's even if they were not very big, it should be a main worry for us. But the situation
how much
here,
power do they have now? I mean, how are they in the polls?
Here, with the Portuguese Revolution, the 25th of April in '74, the fascism got a big defeat here in Portugal. That kind of put the extreme right or the fascist movement very residual until the 90s, 2000s. And actually, when in Greece and France and some other countries, there were already big or significant right-wing parties or fascist parties. Here, it doesn't exist. It didn't exist, but really rapidly that shifted since 2017, especially. That new organizations start to appear. It came from one of the traditional parties of the right, centered in a guy, André Ventura, that it was a football commentator in television, but it was a politician too, and in 2019 he was elected here in Lisbon to the parliament, and in the last presidential elections in 1 year ago, he had almost 12% of the votes, almost half a million votes, and they now appear with 8% in the polls. So they will have lots of deputies in the parliament. So it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, and they rise with well, I think there's combination of two things: the downgrade of the Portuguese place in the world, even from a capitalistic, imperialistic point of view. That in the last years, in the last decades, the Portugal imperialistic status fall a lot, and there is a huge nostalgia with the colonialism and with that past of colonialism of the Portuguese Empire. And the structural racism and colonialism is really strong. So it was kind of sleeping that sector of the society, and they managed to organize in that Chega party. Chega, it's like translate to enough, and they were, unfortunately, even with some effort from some parts of the left, the majority of the left try to ignore it, like they appear and we will ignore them, so they will disappear because we will ignore it. That didn't happen. They only grew up.
It happened in a lot of countries, this mistake.
And now that they already are settled in, it's really difficult to say, no, they should be illegal. They shouldn't be on the debates. For example, the debates now for the elections that were happening this last week. He was the center of all the debates, even the debates that he wasn't there. Many times he was part of the discussion, so they managed to be the center of the discussion. even if they are really a minority, in spite of everything, they are a small minority of the population, but they are a loud minority, and they are organized, and it's a huge problem. So the united front against them, and all organizations that should unite and do all this kind of struggles, not only in the elections and so on, but even in the streets, in schools and working places, to do campaigns and to have a plan to fight this existential threat that is the neo-fascism here and in the rest of the world, of course.
Yeah, this obviously connects with the situation of the left. So let's go with that issue. So what do you think? How would you characterize the policy of the left parties in the last years, and what do you think they should do now? How do you think they should use this political crisis in order to take the demands of the left forward?
Yeah. No, I think the left in general in the world, it's in a bit of an existential crisis, like thinking what to do, making a record of what was the last decades and so on. I think here it's not different. I will talk about the two main parties of the left here, the left bloc and the Communist Party. The last 6 years of what was called the Geringonça, this government, it's difficult to translate the meaning of it, but this solution of government, even if there's some advances and some good things for the working class, the truth is that the working class now, it's a bit of without a strategy, because in the last 6 years, the agreement that in the beginning was good to avoid a new government or the continuation of a right-wing government, it ends up like to be a strategic thing, like the left, even without noticing, I think, stop to have a strategy of their own, like they end up only putting the Socialist Party program a little bit better. So I think what's needed now, it's a united front. So like the left bloc and the Communist Party almost don't talk with each other. I think that's one of the things that needed to change. We need to go back to the streets, or at least to try to develop a bit more the workers' organizations that are a bit that are not really well this period, because I think there's a lot of crisis and lots of things that we need to like in wages, housing problems. There's a bunch of problems in society that we need to go forward, and that would happen with a unity of the left against the right and the bourgeoisie. So I think now today with these elections, I think we should vote, and when we are participating in the campaign with left bloc, that it's that as a center is policy against the right-wing parties, and to avoid a new government of the right, but also to give an alternative, a left-wing alternative to the Socialist Party government that defends the public health system, the social services, the wages, the working class, the climate. So today we need to vote and to do campaign with the left bloc, but we need to have a strategy, more long-term strategy, to unite the left, and especially the smallest or revolutionary organizations needs to talk with each other, to listen to each other, to do more things together, because I think the next years will be very rich of events, but we have a lot of things to do. So I think we are together. Once again, thanks a lot. And Greece was a reference for us during the debt crisis and the austerity crisis. So I think we continue together in this struggle to make our life better.
Yeah, there are parallels between the two countries. Yes. Okay, Eduardo, thank you very much for this interview. It's been very interesting to hear all this information, and we hope you have a good campaign and result in the elections, and we'll be in touch so you can inform us about the outcome.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.